Hello students. So today's lecture is a bit different one. Let us see how is it different. You are going to do something really interesting. So what is it? Let us see. So the topic of today's lecture is some statistical puzzles. So what the statistical puzzles are we going to talk about? You can easily see a hint here in the lecture in this slide itself. But let us see if you understand it or not. So what are we going to do? Yeah, coins. What are these? Coins. So we are going to talk about coin tossing. So you may feel, oh no, not again. You have done this like 1,000 times before. You have solved questions related to coin tossing. You have found various probabilities associated with coin tossing. What will happen if this has happened? What will happen if this doesn't happen? So many probabilities you have considered before. So your usual experiment usually starts with a fair coin and then you use it to generate observations. So if it is 0, if it is head, you say it is 0. If it is tail, you say it is 1, something like this. So now what if you are told that the fair coin is not available and you will have to use the unfair coin only. So what you know about the coin is that the coin is unfair for sure. Means no matter how many times you toss the coin, you won't get equal number of heads and tails there. That is what we mean by unfair coins. So suppose such unfair coin is provided to you and now you are told to use it and ultimately get observations which you would have got from tossing of a fair coin. Do you think it is possible? Can you do that? If you can do that, then how do you plan to do that? Think about it for a moment and see if you can get the answer. So how can we find the answer? Let us go to the next slide. So how can an unfair coin give fair results? How is it even possible? What can be done? So okay, here is the solution. Let us go back to the first semester and study Bernoulli probability distributions again. Would you like to do that? Because coin tossing means Bernoulli distribution. So shall we study Bernoulli distribution more so that we can find the solution to this problem? No, we don't need to do that. We don't need to go back to the first semester. We just need a little result associated with the Bernoulli distribution. So what is that little result? You might have already derived it before, but right now you are unable to recall it. So this is the result. If x and y are IID Bernoulli random variables with probability of head as p, that is probability of success p, here p is not equal to half. So we are assuming here that p is not equal to half. Then probability that x is equal to 0 given that x plus y is equal to 1 is 0.5 and obviously probability that x is equal to 1 given x plus y is equal to 1 is also 0.5. So now you might be wondering how, okay, so you have got another result from Bernoulli distribution. How are we going to use it? How can we use it to generate observations from fair Bernoulli? Means Bernoulli with probability of success as half. How can we use this result? So let us see how it can be done. How do we use this? So here is the technique. Generate some observations from Bernoulli P because unfair coin is available to you. So generate observations from Bernoulli distribution, that is toss that coin enough number of times. Say 50. 50 is just an arbitrary choice. You can increase this number because ultimately we will be using R for implementing this result. So generate observations from Bernoulli distribution with P as probability of success where P is not equal to half. Then consider only those pair of observations where the sum of observations in that pair is 1. They treat the first observation as x and the second one as y. What is the meaning of this? What was the result? Try to recall the result. What was it? The distribution of x, conditional distribution of x, given that x plus y is equal to 1 is Bernoulli with probability of success as half. Means if I have observations from Bernoulli P such that the observations addition is 1. So which observations? So consider two observations. So their addition is 1. Then the first observation in that pair will be the observation as x, isn't it? Let us go back to the earlier slide again. See, here is the result. What does it say? It says that probability that x is equal to 0 given x plus y is equal to 1 is 0.5. Means the random variable x given that x plus y is equal to 1 behaves as if it is a Bernoulli random variable with probability of success as half. So it behaves like a fair coin. In short, this x behaves like a fair coin provided that x plus y is equal to 1. So how do we implement this? We have just one unfair coin. So what can be done is, I will generate, say 50 observations I have generated. So first observation I will treat as if it is an observation on x. The second observation we can treat as if it is an observation on y, because uh, the tosses of coins will be independent, and x and y are IID random variables, independent and identically distributed random variables. So we can safely assume that if you generate these 50 observations, then every time the first observation you can treat as an observation on x. So the first, third, fifth, seventh and so on, those will be values of x, and the second, fourth, sixth, eighth, those will be the values of y. So now find all those x and y for which x plus y is equal to 1. So all those pair of observations are of interest to us. So now the first observation from that pair will be the observation x. So we are interested in x. Why? Because now we have just mentioned that the distribution of x given x plus y is equal to 1 is same as the Bernoulli distribution with 0.5 probability of success. So x behaves like a fair coin. So if we are able to collect the observations on x, we are done. But is it okay to take any observations? Can we treat any observations from this Bernoulli 50 observations? Can we take any observations as the observations on x? Finally, as the observations from the fair coin? No, we will have to take only those observations where the addition of the two observations x and y is 1. So how do we choose y? So as I mentioned earlier, 50% of these observations will be x, 50% will be y. So how do we have? We should have some common method. So the first observation, third observation means all odd numbered observations will be treated as x, and all even number observations are y's. And now which x finally are we going to accept? So only those x we are going to accept for which x plus y is equal to 1. So the required observation, that is observation from a fair coin, will be the first observation in this pair. So don't you think that it was really simple? The solution was not at all difficult. So let us implement it in R and see what we get. So let us try to implement the procedure which we have learned here in R. So I am going to generate 1000 observations from a Bernoulli distribution taking probability of success as 0.6. Then I am going to store them in this Z. Now I am bifurcating this Z as I had suggested earlier into x and y. So all the odd numbered observations from Z will go to x, and all the even numbered observations will go to y. So this is how it can be done. Sequence 1 to n, increment will be 2. So only odd numbers will be there. Here only even numbers will be there. Likewise. Now finally the desired values I am going to store in this vector u. So here is the running variable k. This k I am going to use as a counting variable for this vector u, and this I am going to use as a running variable for z. So what we are going to do is this, not z, sorry, x or y. So for every element in x and y, we will check whether x plus y is equal to 1. If x plus y is equal to 1, then the value of x will be stored in the vector u, and then we will move to the next value of u, means we will move to the next location in the vector u. And if in either case we will be increasing I from I to I plus 1. So I have used a while loop for doing this. So what I have done is, first I will take I less than or equal to n by 2, because that will be the length of the vector x. Let us first try running this code, and then I think you will be able to understand it better. So n I have taken as 1000, p I have taken as 0.6, z I have generated here, then x and y. Now you can look at the length of x and y. So 500. Now I have taken u and then k and I. So these are k and I are running variables. K is for u and I is for x and y. So now while I is less than or equal to n by 2. So because n by 2 is the length of the vector x. So as long as we are dealing within the limits of the vector x. So I have taken upper limit as n by 2. So now what we are going to do? So for every value of I, we will check whether xi plus yi is equal to 1. So if that is the case, then the kth element which we have initialized to 1. So this kth element of u will be ith element of the vector x. And then because now k here we are not using for loop, so we will have to manually consider the increment of these running variables, and so we will have to increase k to k plus 1 like this only if this condition is fulfilled. If not, then we did not increment it. So that's why I have put this k equal to k plus 1 in this condition, in this loop of if. And I we will have to increment either case. So I have put it outside this loop, I equal to I plus 1. So to understand how this program functions, let us consider I equal to 1. And let us try to run this code. So is xi equal to, what is the value of xi plus yi? Let us see. If I take I equal to 1, xi plus yi is equal to 2. So in that case, this is not satisfied. So if you try to run this, see, run this, and now because k is equal to 1, k was earlier 1, now this condition has not fulfilled. So k is still 1 because we are still at the first position in this vector u. We have still not got the first element of vector u, so we will be having k equal to 1 again. But now we have inspected the first element of vector x and y, so we are now moving to the next element in these vectors x and y. So I is equal to I plus 1. Now again we will be back to this if loop. Now let us see, is it all right? Okay, now look at the value of x, sorry k, it is still 1, means we were still did not satisfy the condition. So again I is equal to I plus 1 and so on. So have a look at, so this way we will go on doing till we reach the first value. So you can look at the first few elements of x and y to get the idea. So see here, first element of x is 1, second element is 1, 0, 1. So here see, fourth element addition is 1. So the fourth element of x and fourth element of y addition is 1. So what is the value of for x which satisfies this condition? So the x value is 0. So the first value of u will be 0. So if you see this, see. So right now we were at the third, now I is 3. So let us check what happens here. If you run the code again, see what do you get. Have we got the vector u? No, nothing, because still even the third element have not satisfied this condition. So k is still 1. Now we will increase by 1. So now we are at the fourth place. Now see what happens. Now look at the vector u. So yes, u1 now it is not null, it is 0, and k is now 2 because one element we have already identified. So now we are at the second element. So this is how this loop works. So let us now run this right from the beginning. So see how many, since notice that we have generated 1000 values of z, and so 500 values x and 500 values of y. So how many values do we get? I am interested in knowing that. So finally out of 500 I got 230 values of x. So of the required random variable. Means what? So out of 500 values, exactly 230 values fulfill the condition that x plus y is equal to 1. So these 230 values we have got. So now what do we want to check? What was our claim? Our claim was that this coin, this way we are getting a result output from a fair coin. See the title of the code. Using unfair coin to get fair output. So do we get fair output? When would you call it as a fair output? If number of zeros and number of ones are almost same, then you would call it as a fair output. So let us try running this command table. So here I have got 0 as 101 and ones as 129. Okay, so you may feel that that is not the case. They are not exactly same. But notice that this is simulation. Not every time you are going to get exactly same. You will get approximately same. So if you look at the probabilities, 101 out of 230. So it is 0.439 and 129 out of 230. So 0.56. So not bad. 0.43 and 0.56. So let us try running this code again. Let us see what do we get. See, is it better? 122 and 129. So more the number of times you run, you will understand that in the long run, approximately 50% tosses are zeros, means 50% observations are zeros and 50% observations are 1. Even if you generate observations from Bernoulli distribution with p equal to 0.5, still you won't get all exactly 50% observations 0 and exactly 50% observations 1, isn't it? You will get them as you increase n, you will get them to be closer to 0.5. That you might have already realized. And why does it happen? You might have studied it in inference. So here the point of interest is whether we get finally by using the observations from from a Bernoulli distribution with p not equal to 0.5, can we generate observations from Bernoulli with p equal to 0.5? That was the question, and that we have tried to answer this. So just to be sure that Z itself was not a fair data. So see here, it is 441 zeros are there and 559 ones were there. So p is not equal to, in fact you can see the value of p which we had taken was 0.6. So notice that here out of 1000 observations, 559 observations are ones. So it is 0.559. The estimate of p is 0.559, which is quite good. So I hope you have understood this code and you will be able to write this code on your own. So in the previous example, we saw how a unfair coin can be used to generate observations from a fair coin. Now let us do some fun with a die. So let us see how it can be done and what is the question. So roll a fair die and get observations from a discrete uniform distribution over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So now as we know that a die has 6 faces. So if we use it to generate observations, then at most we will have discrete uniform distributions over the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It will be it won't be straightforward to generate observations from this kind of discrete uniform distributions over the numbers 1 through 7. So what can be done? Think harder. Think for a moment. What else should we do? In fact, the hint lies here itself. Yes, you are right. A similar technique can be used. But what? So yes, here is the hint. Use instead of 1, use 2 fair dice to get this type of distribution. So here I have shown 2 fair dice. So what can be done is throw these 2 dice together and record the outcomes. Now what are the kind of outcomes that we will have? We will have observations starting from 1, 1 to 6, 6. So in all we will have 36 observations. So the idea is to use these 36 observations to create a random sample or a set of values from the discrete uniform distribution over the numbers 1 to 7. So let us see how it can be achieved. So what we do is we create sets of different sets of these paired observations starting from 1 1 to 6 6. So we put 5 observations together in a group. So we create 7 such groups like this. So starting from 1 1 to 1 5, so 5 observations, then 1 6 to 2 4, another group of observations, then 2 5 to 3 3, one more group of observations, and then similarly 4 more. So finally we have got, or we have reached till the observation 6 5. So in all we have only 35 observations now. So we have created 7 groups considering these 35 observations. So one more observation remains there, and that is 6 6. So you may feel ki what to do with that observation. So what would you do if you get a 6 6? So it's like I am creating 7 groups because I want to generate random sample from the discrete uniform distribution over 7 numbers. So I am trying to fit in those 36 observations into 7 sets or 7 groups. So because 36 is not a multiple of 7, so at most what we can do is we can have 35 observations. So the remaining observation will remain there. So the idea is to reject that observation. It means that if you throw a dice, these two dice, and both these two dice, if they show 6, then you are going to reject that observation and you will throw the die once more to generate an observation from the desired discrete uniform distribution. So let us be more elaborate about it. So this is how it is done. If you get a pair of observations belonging to the first group, let us say you have got one from the set of 1 to 7 values, these 1 to 7 values. If you get pair of observations belonging to the second group, then let us say you have got the observation 2 from these 7 numbers, and so on. So it's like for the first group 1, for the second group 2, for the third group 3, and so on. So for the 7th group 7. So if an observation belongs to the 7th group, then it will mean that you have got this 7 number. So this any such combination you can use as long as you are associating these 7 numbers with these 7 groups. So since there are exactly 7 groups having 5 observations each, all these groups are equally likely. Why? Because all the observations are equally likely and all groups have same number of observations. So that makes the groups also equally likely. So as a result, ultimately these numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 will have the same probability, and the probability will be, because 5 observations are there in one group out of the 35 observations. Now note that the observation 6 6 you are going to discard. So you need not consider this in the calculation. So what you are doing is you are classifying 35 observations into 7 sets containing 5 observations each. So probability that an observation belongs to one particular set will be same for all these sets or groups, and that probability will be 5 upon 35, which is nothing but 1 by 7. So we get the discrete uniform distribution. So is it necessary that we have to classify these observations like this, like 1 1 then 1 2? Since all observations are equally likely, so you can classify them as the way you want. Means you can have 1 1 2 2 3 3 4 4 5 5 in the first group, then you can have 1 2 1 1 2 2 2, means 1 2 1 3, likewise. So the way you want, you can classify these 35 observations the way you want. In fact, any 35 observations out of the 36 you can choose, and you can classify them like this in these groups. As long as every group has 5 observations, the distribution will remain the same. So that is the idea. So I hope you liked this example and you found this interesting enough, and you will try to find similar such questions and will try to answer them on your own. So enjoy the course, Computer Intensive Statistical Methods.